But no one's blood was boiling more than Cam Newton this week. He went on his podcast, 4th and 1, and he said Jalen Hurts is not top 10, to which Dan Orlowski, Ryan Clark, Stephen A. Smith had a lot to say. And Cam Newton, he went off. Cam Newton respond. Basically, champ, Ryan Clark talked about Cam Newton's accomplishments compared to Jalen Hurts' accomplishments. Then Cam Newton also talked about Ryan Clark's success compared to Cam Newton's success, both college and in the NFL. Look, regarding Cam with Jalen Hurts, he says he doesn't view Jalen Hurts top 10 because it's hard to evaluate him because of what he has around him with the Philadelphia Eagles, with the team, the weapons, Saquon Barkley, the offensive line, and the defense. I still would put Jalen Hurts top 10 for the record. Do I agree with Cam not putting Jalen Hurts top 10? I think Cam was wrong to not put Jalen Hurts top 10. Jalen Hurts is a good enough quarterback. He has made Philadelphians and Eagles fans forget more about Carson Wentz, because remember, it was supposed to be Carson Wentz's team. Carson Wentz had not been for injury in 2017, would have won the league MVP. He was supposed to be their future. Jalen Hurts came in, has done his part to lead by example, has been to 2 Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl MVP. And Cam Newton, for those who want to say, well, Cam is hating on Jalen Hurts because Cam has been to a Super Bowl, never won a Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Jalen has been to 2 Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl. Cam has made it clear he has nothing but respect for Jalen Hurts. He doesn't dislike Jalen Hurts. He's not jealous of Jalen Hurts. He actually said Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. And Cam Newton is absolutely right from the standpoint, because a lot of times it seems like it's more about the messenger rather than the message. Because I mentioned this before, champ, Kimberly Martin. Remember what she had to say about Cam Newton when he said Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, his game managers, right? And remember what she and a lot of other people had to say about Cam at that time. And even though they put up great numbers individually, they didn't win the MVP. Brock Purdy, had he won that game against the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football, he would have notched the MVP, but he didn't. It ended up going to Lamar Jackson. And I thought, shouldn't be at some point, because I remember I did the video on this, and I know you've done a lot of TikTok videos, champ. Hey, isn't it at some point the media is probably going to have to give Cam Newton an apology? Oh, wait, that never happened because we didn't expect them to. But for Ryan Clark, I am kind of disappointed that Ryan Clark had to bring that up with Cam, because, again, Cam is now with ESPN. He does come from time to time on ESPN. And look, Ryan Clark even went on the Pivot podcast and talked about the Kimberly Martin situation with what she had to say about Cam Newton. And it's easy to hate on Cam because obviously Cam has a big personality, the podcasting, his hair, his clothes, his outfits. Yes, the Super Bowl, he didn't dive on that football, but you mentioned before, champ, Luke Kuechly. Even though he acknowledged that Cam didn't dive for that football, has said nothing but great things about Cam Newton as a teammate and as a person. Do I agree with Cam? Once again, that he doesn't have Jalen Hurts top 10? I disagree. I think Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. My problem is the argument people try to make him top 5. I think it has to do with the success, but also your talent, your skill. And when compared to those other quarterbacks, no, Jalen Hurts, in terms of the talent or the skill, I don't believe he's up there with Mahomes, with Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar. And I even said it, and I'll say it again. I would take Jaden Daniels over Jalen Hurts. And no, that is not because I am a Washington Commanders fan. I'm just looking at the eye test. And to use your logic, Chip, again, when you think of the Washington Commanders, you think of Jaden Daniels. When you think of the Philadelphia Eagles, well, you think of Saquon Barkley. You think of the defense. You think of the offensive line. And then you think of Jalen Hurts. And again, Cam does feel bad for Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts hasn't really done anything. And Jalen Hurts is all about winning. He cares about winning another Super Bowl, going back to another Super Bowl. But it seems like to me, we really got to stop hating on Cam and taking shots at him and accusing him of being jealous. What Cam got to be jealous about? Cam has been to 3 Pro Bowls. Cam has won a league MVP. And yes, Cam Newton or Jalen Hurts, who's the better quarterback? The answer is Cam. Have people forgotten that year in 2015 when Calvin Benjamin was out with the torn ACL? And of course, on top of that, he had weight issues throughout his career. Booger McFarland said it best. 1 Popeye's biscuit away, remember?
Yeah.
But 35 touchdowns, 10 on the ground. He was the focal point for the Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
So,
yep. And my fault to interrupt PSP, but I want to piggyback on that. People he did his rookie year.
Yeah, 4,000 yards. Became the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 4,000 yards
in a lockout year.
Yes, in a lockout year.
Yes.
And considering all the criticism he had before the draft, what does Cam Newton have to be jealous about with Jalen Hurts? Why do you still have to bring up the Super Bowl with the fumble? Why do you still have to bring up Cam with his clothes or his outfits? If you still keep bringing that up, then apparently that's something that has to do with you. They ain't got nothing to do with Cam. Do I agree with Cam's take? No. But we got to stop accusing former players of being jealous or hating on another player. Cam Newton does not hate Jalen Hurts. He's not jealous of Jalen Hurts. As a matter of fact, Cam Newton is proud of Jalen Hurts. He said Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. I don't agree when Cam Newton said Jalen Hurts is not top 10, but that doesn't mean Cam Newton is not entitled to his opinion. If you want to disagree with it respectfully, that's fine. But to bring up his Super Bowl or to bring up anything else is irrelevant. That's all I got to say. Champ, talk to me.
In the great words of the great Johnny Cochran, relevancy. That's what they say in court, relevancy. Look, here's what the media needs to stop doing. Number one, I will say this. With Jalen Hurts, I said this on another podcast, and I hate to regurgitate the same information, but this is just what it is. Every time that a quarterback does not win with a stacked roster, what do? We tax them. We tax them for every little thing. We tax them. For Peyton Manning for years, he had Edgerrin James, he had Reggie Wayne, Brandon Stokely, Marvin Harrison. Jeff Saturday had a superb offensive line, everything. And yet he didn't win. We taxed him. 2 years in a row, Lamar Jackson has had a stacked team. Had a historic defense when he won the MVP. Had a historic offense this year. And they added Derrick Henry. He didn't win. We taxed him for it. You have a stacked team. There's no reason why you shouldn't be winning. Okay, now Jalen Hurts come in and he wins. Why are we taxing him? Because the thing is, he has been an MVP before. He hasn't been an MVP, excuse me. Let me retract that statement. He has been an MVP candidate before.
2022.
Yes, indeed. So we know that he can take over a game. He has been an all-pro before. And in order to be an all-pro, you have to be considered the best at your position. So let that be that. Read it to that what you will. The thing is, we tax everybody when they don't win on stacked teams. We tax them. We taxed Lamar Jackson. We taxed Peyton Manning when he didn't win for all those years. We taxed Aaron Rodgers when he didn't win for those years. After he won the Super Bowl, we called him a playoff choke. We taxed Brett Favre. Every time when somebody has a stacked team and you feel like they should be in the Super Bowl at least every year, they're a quarterback, we tax the crap out of them. We tax them to life. So when Jalen Hurts comes by and he wins a Super Bowl with a stacked team, he did what he needed to do. Why is that an indictment on him? He's been an MVP candidate before. He's been an All-Pro before. And it takes that general, to be honest with you, to understand one thing and one thing only. I have all of these weapons. Guess what? I don't have to try to win the game and do everything myself. I don't have to do that. I can go ahead and I can rely on my skilled players. I can take the time in order to hand the ball off to a running back that I know is going to get me 2,000 yards. There's an offensive player of the year. Name me one quarterback in the history of the game that didn't win with a stacked team. You could go down the list. Joe Montana had probably one of the greatest teams of all time, 1989. Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Roger Craig, the fullback, I forget his name, Tom Rathman. Then on defense, you turn around, he had Charles Haley, Ronnie Lott, and Fred Dean. So Peyton Manning stacked roster every single year. Came into the league with Marvin Harrison and Marshall Faulk waiting on him. Troy Aikman. So if you name me a quarterback that has never won a Super Bowl with a stacked roster, that quarterback probably didn't win that much. It's not Jalen Hurts' fault that the organization did what they were supposed to do in regards to getting him the pieces that he needed to win. It's not his fault. The organization did what they were supposed to do, and guess what? As a quarterback, he fulfilled his duty, delivered them a Super Bowl with the talent that was around him. Like I said, he's been the MVP candidate before. I believe that an MVP will forever silence everybody, but that is a whole nother story for a whole nother day. If I'm Nick Sirianni this year, I'm just going to be real. I'm going to Jalen Hurts and tell him, look, we about to unleash you this year. Let's see if we can get you that MVP. Especially with the NFC being wide open as it is. Now, on to Cam. Cam has no reason to be jealous of anybody. If anybody is more qualified to talk about sports, it has to be Cam Newton. And when you talk about when you talk about athletes who make sense when they talk, it's Cam Newton. We can go down a list about people who don't make sense when they talk. Kendrick Perkins and Paul Pierce being two of them. They don't make sense when they talk, and nobody listens. Not to mention when Keyshawn Johnson say that he was a better catcher than Megatron. So there's a lot of athletes that when you listen to these guys, they don't really all right. But Cam Newton, he actually makes sense. So when he's giving his opinion about sports, guess what? He took a team with hardly no skill players on that team to a Super Bowl. He took a team to a playoffs 4 times. He played in a stacked division. I don't think people understand how hard it was to win. And do you know how hard it was to go 15-1 in that division in 2015? You got to face Matt Ryan, and during that decade where Cam Newton was playing in Carolina, nearly every team in the 3 teams in the NFC South went to the Super Bowl. One of them won it, and that was the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees is a Hall of Famer. Matt Ryan's a Hall of Famer. So guess what? He played in one of the most stacked divisions in history. You playing 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks every single year. And out of both of those, only 2 of y'all won the MVP. That was you and Matt Ryan. You're in hell of a company. So we got to get to the point where he have to stop when we disagree with somebody. Hey, we got to get to this point. We got to stop, especially when it's on the sports network that we start attacking the message. Well, why didn't he jump on the ball? Well, guess what? He's already acknowledged that he should have jumped on that ball. He's already acknowledged that. His teammates have acknowledged that. They've came to his rescue in regards to that. Cam is now a journalist. Matter of fact, when you talk about how much sense, you can put him right up there. I can say he has every capability to be just as big, if not bigger, than Pat McAfee, if you really want me to be honest with you, because of the hot takes that he does, because of the way his personality is, because of how unsafe that he is. So when you put that into perspective, stop disrespecting the man and pay attention. Do I agree with Cam? No. Because there's been too many times where we tax players because they didn't win on a stacked team. Hell, the jury's still out on Lamar at this point. The jury is still out on Lamar at this point. Look at
Lamar, Josh Allen too, and Joe Burrow too.
Yeah, and look at how bad we taxed Sam Darnold when he went out there and laid an egg in that playoff game. So when these quarterbacks are playing on stacked teams, guess what? It's because their organizations are doing what they're supposed to do and providing them the talent that they need. It's not my fault that I went to a good organization. It's not my fault that Howie Roseman is my general manager. It's not my fault. Hell, I wasn't even supposed to be the star quarterback. Carson Wentz was. This cycle was here. This train was rolling down the tracks even before I got here. They was already on the right track. I just came in and gave us another one. But the thing is, we can't sit around here out of one breath and say this quarterback needs help. This quarterback needs this. This quarterback needs that. And then when they finally get a stacked team and don't win, well, you got all this help. Now, why are you not winning? And then out of that same mouth, oh, yeah, well, he's on a stacked team. That's the reason why he's winning. Okay, you can't have it both ways. And as far as Cam Newton is concerned, everybody ain't jealous. Everybody is not jealous. I mean, he's jealous. For what? I'm one of the most, I don't even play football. I'm one of the most recognizable faces in football at this moment. I ain't played football in years. And for people who are going to sit around here and say, well, because of his clothes, because of his person, what does that have to do with character? I wear a black shirt and a skull cap every single week to the show. If I'm not wearing that, then I wear a do-rag. I wear a turban. So guess what? What does that have to do with me commentating on anything? Did Cam ever get in trouble in the NFL? No. Did he ever get the coach fired? No. The only criticism that we ever got in the NFL about Cam Newton was when he said some things about the journalist that cost him his yogurt sponsor.
Yeah, Dannon.
Yes. When he said something derogatory to the reporter about I'm not used to a woman, talking about a route, and that cost him his yogurt sponsorship, and the fact that he backed up disgraced former owner, God rest his soul, Jerry Rice, who drafted him. Those were the only two criticisms that you could really point to Cam Newton as far as character and say, yeah, you could have did better on that. But outside of that, what can you say? He was a model citizen when he was in Carolina. When he went to New England, you didn't hear peep out. Guess what? You had that little sound bite where he slipped out of the chair after one of the linemen said something to him. But you really
the wide receiver, N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, when he slid out of the chair like that. But other than that, you didn't hear peep out of him. He wasn't a Terrell Owens type of personality where his personality got him in trouble.
And the thing is with Cam, though, what I love about Cam, you mentioned Terrell Owens. He even had something to say to Cam about Jalen Hurts. One thing you should know about Cam Newton, he's not afraid of showing receipts. So you better be careful.
In the great words of Ja Rule, we gonna clap back. We gonna clap back. So look, man, Cam Newton ain't got no reason to be jealous, because the thing is, if any other journalist was to give their opinion, would they be attacking him like that?
Fair
If
point.
any other journalist on any other network, when I think it was Carlson from the morning show over there on FS1 before they canceled it, he said the same thing. We're with a bad team. Nobody said a word with that. But when it's Cam, because he has a bigger voice, everybody wants to start with the disparaging comments and stuff like that. This dude was a former league MVP, made the Pro Bowl, was an All-Pro, played in one of the toughest divisions of all time. I stand by that. That was the toughest division of all time, the NFC South, during that time. You have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks and 2 won the MVP. Drew Brees and Matt Ryan, Hall of Famers, surefire. Cam Newton, only reason he's not heading there because he got hurt. Carried a team. One of the biggest the thing is, when people was talking about how Josh Allen was carrying the Buffalo Bills this year, the first name that everybody brought up?
Cam. Superman. And Josh Allen and Cam Newton, and as far as game styles.
Yes. People was talking about how he was carrying this Buffalo Bills team, much like how Cam Newton was carrying the Carolina Panthers in 2015. We can't have it both ways, people. We can't have it both ways. I hate to be that guy on the podcast today spitting knowledge, but you can't have it both ways. You can't say out of one mouth that, guess what, he's not qualified, he's jealous, when he knows how to carry a team, and then out of that other mouth say he's jealous. Because the thing is, quiet as it's kept, that wasn't the first team that Cam carried. He carried Auburn to a national championship. So if you want to talk about carry jobs, if there's anybody who can evaluate carrying your team, it's Cam Newton. He carried Auburn to a championship while winning the Heisman Trophy. He carried the Carolina Panthers to the Super Bowl while winning the MVP. One of only a few players in order to win the Heisman and the MVP. He's on Lamar Jackson. Yes, he's on that list with Roger Staubach, Marcus Allen, and Lamar Jackson. And there's one more,
OJ.
And OJ Simpson.
OJ.
There's only about 4 or 5 people who have ever done that in the league history. And he carried not only his college team to a championship, but he carried his pro team on the verge of a championship. So if there's anybody more qualified than Cam Newton in order to do that, who's not in the Hall of Fame, I would say, I would love to see him. So you can't have it both ways, people, man. Guess what? If anybody can talk about, and look, we always complain about journalists when they talk about athletes. Well, he ain't never played. Okay, well, these guys played. So what are we going to say now? Well, he played, but he jealous. How? I don't understand nowadays.
I do. You just want to find. You always want to find a reason to hate on people, and that's the thing. You just want to find some little reason just to hate on somebody, because Cam said best. It's the messenger, not the message. You're paying more attention to the messenger, not the message. But BRF, what's your thoughts?
Before I get into it, I want to piggyback off of something Champ said about that NFC South and how it might be one of the toughest divisions, like in any time frame in the history of the National Football League. I'm gonna give y'all a stat before I give y'all my thoughts. Since realignment in 2002, there have only been 2 divisions that have sent every divisional team to at least one Super Bowl. NFC West, NFC South. That's it, folks. They are the only two divisions since realignment in 2002 that has sent every team to at least one Super Bowl. Seattle's been to, if you go to the West, Seattle's been to two. LA's been to two since realignment. Arizona's been to one. San Francisco's been to two. If you go to the NFC South, Carolina, New Orleans, and Atlanta have all been to elite. Carolina's been to two. Atlanta, New Orleans have been to one. Tampa's been to two. Well, actually three. Because of the realignment year, they've been to three. Only two divisions that have sent every team to at least one Super Bowl. So that just talks about how tough at one point the NFC South was. When you're dealing with Drew Brees, who was arguably putting together one of the greatest quarterback peaks of all time, Matt Ryan, who was one of the most consistent quarterbacks we've ever seen in the league, 10 straight years of at least 4,000 yards, culminating in an MVP in 2016 and an NFC championship. And I got to put it out there with Tampa. Even though we give Jameis Winston a hard time, Pete Jameis in Tampa was really nobody to play with. It just that he threw a lot of interceptions. But Pete Jameis was nothing to mess with. So Cam had some Cam has some competition in Carolina. So with that being said, I mean, I've said that Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback in the league. If I recall, I had him at 8. But I mean, like I said, if you have him in that, I think if you want to put him in that I say 6 to 8. I'm not going to argue with it for Jalen Hurts. 6 to 8. I'm not going to argue with it for Jalen Hurts. I'm not. But I noticed this when Cam Newton speaks about quarterbacks and their play. He's not attacking the quarterback. He's just talking about the play and what he's doing. And then it seems like when people want to go at Cam, they attack him. Like they always want to bring up the Super Bowl where he didn't fall on the fumble. And that's always their go-to. But then it's like, y'all do realize if Cam Newton didn't put together the 2015 that he did, Carolina's not even in that position to win that game and win a Super Bowl title. If he's not the MVP, if he's not Superman, Carolina might not even be in that position. Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback. He has a good deep ball. He's very good as far as processing. We can't knock the man's skill set. The man has a skill set that has translated well into the National Football League. He is a really good quarterback. And like Champ said, it is not the quarterback's fault that it's not Jalen Hurts' fault that he has one of, if not the best front offices in the league, because he definitely has the best executive in all of football, and Howie Roseman. That's not his fault. We've said that time and time again, and that man continues to show you why he's considered the best executive in football with his mindset, with his scouting team, just his understanding of what he needs to do to put the best roster on the field to allow Jalen Hurts to do his thing and lead and help the Philadelphia Eagles win football games. Cam Newton, though, we talked about this in one of our shows. Jalen Hurts has more of a sample size in the National Football League. You can say he's a better passer, a better pure passer of the football than Cam Newton. I'm still taking, as an overall player, I'm still taking Cam Newton over Jalen Hurts. Because as an overall player, very few affected the game like peak Cam Newton in terms of not only having to play against his arm, but to also have to play and guard against his legs, being 6'5", 240, 250 pounds, being a tank of a quarterback, but also being the athlete that he was. Cam Newton, what reason does Cam Newton have to be jealous of Jalen Hurts? I mean, this dude is here living his best life. Does he deep down, do I feel like Cam would love to get another shot in the National Football League? Absolutely. I feel like he would want another shot. But you know what? He's a realist about certain things. So he's enjoying this. Cam's not a dummy. Cam has a high football IQ. Cam does know what he's talking about. When you go back to the game manager comment, bringing up Dak Prescott, bringing up Brock Purdy, bringing up Jared Goff, bringing up Tua Tagovailoa, was he not proven correct in that assessment? I mean, for all the yards they accumulated, when it got downtown to the nitty gritty and it was time to make plays and it was time to win big games, none of them were there. None of them were there. So the sports media as a whole needs to stop criticizing that man, attacking that man when all he's trying to do is give his analysis and really just kind of give you another perspective. That's all Cam Newton is doing. And honestly, he is one of the better athletes out there, if not the best athlete right now in terms of the podcasting game, because his thoughts and his takes aren't so outrageous that you have to look at him with a side eye. Cam Newton makes you analyze and makes you see what he says, and then you look and you're like, well, you know what? I can't really be mad at Cam. Cam got a point. Cam got a good point here. I just wish the media would stop attacking that man and always jumping immediately to Super Bowl 50 and him not jumping on that fumble. Because, I mean, come on, let's keep it a buck. I did not pick the Carolina Panthers to win that game. The Denver Broncos defense was on the roll of a freaking lifetime, and they did what they needed to do to win that game. Cam Newton could hold his head up high just at the idea of getting that Carolina Panther squad to Super Bowl 50. Amazing defense, skill position players you look at, and you're just like, outside of Greg, you got Greg Olsen, you got Jonathan Stewart, but then it's like, where your receivers at? Ted Ginn, okay. What else was that at? What else was there after that?
Corey Brown, they had Corey Brown, they had Devin Funchess, they had Jericho Cotchery at one point.
The legend that is Jericho Cotchery. New York Jets legend Jericho Cotchery. But I digress. Yeah, it's just like I said, man. People got to stop attacking that man for just making points. It seems like every time he gets attacked, something happens, and he's proven ultimately right. I mean, the man is entitled to his opinion. If he doesn't have Jalen Hurts in his top 10, I mean, it's not a ridiculous thing to say. I don't agree with him. I definitely think Jalen Hurts is a top 10 lock. I don't agree with him. But we're not going to sit here and like, oh my gosh, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. He doesn't have Jalen Hurts in the top 10. It's not that outrageous. I just don't agree with it. It's okay to agree to disagree. But the attacking, y'all, folks got to quit that. Folks got to quit that. And let's keep it a buck. Loaded team or not, Jalen Hurts in 2 Super Bowls has looked Patrick Mahomes in the face and sunned him. The only reason why he doesn't have a second championship is because, referees don't know how to handle their business correctly, and that's a conversation for another day. But Cam Newton is in every way, shape, or form, and he has every right to voice his opinion about this. And the thing is, I like listening to Cam Newton speak his mind. I follow his 4th and 1 podcast on YouTube. I follow it. I see his highlights, a lot of his highlights. I'm interested in what he has to say because he's a smart dude, and he's not so outrageous in his takes. You're just gonna click to the next video. You're gonna sit and you're gonna listen because ultimately, in your podcasters, that's what you want. You want people that's going to draw you to the screen for more than just a hot take. for actually being able to show that they can articulate what they say and can actually back it up with facts and information. Cam Newton has always been able to do that. And PSP, you brought it up. That man is going to keep himself some receipts. He ain't going to let you get away with nothing. He's not going to let you get away with a thing. That's what separates.
The only reason why I'm laughing because I'm still I still have that thought of what he said about Jason Whitlock.
You are not that guy, Paul. You are not that guy. You are not that guy. 1,000% agree with that, man, after that statement, because Jason Whitlock, bros, if you follow the PSP podcast and you know which segment we are talking about, find that segment, because if you know, Cam Newton just basically spitting facts. He wasn't that guy. But we just gonna leave it at there. If you want to know what we're talking about, follow the Sports PSP podcast and find that segment. That's all I'm gonna say. But folks just got to stop attacking him at the end of the day, because Cam Newton ain't got no reason to feel jealous of Jalen Hurts. Cam Newton had one of the better runs of the 21st century as quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. And let me tell you something, the Carolina Panthers will always hold that man in high standards because of what he did for that franchise, bringing them out of like really dark times when they were absolutely horrid as an organization to take them to Super Bowl 50. So believe you me, when that organization is going to hold him in high regard. And the 2018, if I'm not mistaken, before he suffered the shoulder injury that ultimately derailed his career,
well, too.
he was playing the best pure quarterback of his career. 66% completion percentage. I mean, playing the best pure quarterback of his career. And it's unfortunate his career went the way it did. But you know what? At the end of the day, we saw the highs of what Cam Newton could have been. And that's something we have to appreciate. And we have to give that man his flowers for what he did. And we have to give that man his flowers for what he's doing as a podcaster, because he's setting himself apart from everybody else. You want to know why? We don't run from him when he talks. We don't look at him with a side eye when he talks. We respect his opinion. I love to hear him talk. And I'm going to continue to follow him and continue to listen to that man talk. So let that man do his thing. Let that man give his opinion, and y'all keep it moving. Y'all got some of them got opinions that we don't agree with, but we ain't about to sit there and knock them down and chop them down for not agreeing with their opinions. Don't do it to Cam. Be fair. Keep it 100 across the board, and let's keep this thing moving and pushing at the end of the day.
Not to mention the great thing about Cam Newton, to share with you, BRF and Champ, he's from Georgia. He's from Georgia, and he knows
that
what
man
he's
talking
about.
He's ATL bred.
Yeah.
Hey, Georgia bred, Georgia fed, and when we die, we gonna be Georgia dead.
Be Georgia dead.
Mm-hmm.